All right, we're live and welcome to your weekly. Although last week I overslept and missed the podcast time, X Files review
Greetings,
show. What's up,
everybody.
Pete? Rewatch
Yeah.
review, Pete. I am currently in your state as far as having these morning classes. My freaking lord, 6 a.m. in the morning because this girl's in London, so she's having class like at 10 her time,
Oh
but
man.
it's 6 over here. But like you keep saying, better to make money
Wow.
than to
I
be
get
out
up at
partying.
6.
But good lord. Hmm. So last week I just overslept. I was
Yeah.
gonna take a
No.
little
I.
nap. Woke up like at 11:30. But yes, it's rough out there for pimps like us, but we do our best, right, Peter? So today we are going to be talking about episodes 7 through 12. And I actually, speaking of which, I forgot to put up our cute little slideshow. So let me do that. And thanks everybody for watching it. And thanks to everybody who subscribed to the channel. We have reached the big 200. We have 200 subscribers, which is pretty cool. I got a little certificate from um, YouTube, and we do have some interesting things lined up for the next couple weeks. So I think it's gonna be cool, man. We're gonna have some good times with each other. And there we go, episode 7 through 12. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It does say Thursdays at 8 p.m., which is when we're usually on. And I think Pete just got knocked off, but there he is, he's back. It does say Thursdays 8 p.m., but the today we're doing it on Tuesday because I gotta do something this Thursday. So just wait for Pete to come back and we will get started. I wish I would have put a little news article. I didn't put any news this week. There it is. There's at the stream. There's Pete. All right, we're ready to go. We are ready to go. So as always, guys, leave comments if there's an episode that we love and you hate, or that we hate and you love. We'd love to hear about it. It's not a problem. And we're gonna start with episode 7. Scully is missing after the events from Dwayne Barry Ascension. And in real life, she was having a baby. I think it was her daughter that she was having. And so this is the first episode that is Scullyless. No Scully.
It's pretty
And
much the only one.
I think so. I can't remember another one. And boy, oh boy, does it suck. I mean, I don't like it. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's pretty clear that she's the heart of this show. Because the show wasn't half bad with Mulder gone, but when she's out of there, my freaking lord. It reminds me of. I was a big fan of Howard Stern growing up. By the way, let me put this here. And you get plenty of people that are Robin Quivers haters. But man, try to listen to an episode old school Howard Stern without Robin Quivers on there. He needs her to make him interesting. She's the audience. She's the one that he can work his crazy ideas off of, and she can respond with a voice of sanity. And Scully and Mulder's relationship is kind of the same. If you just have this guy without somebody to put the brakes on him, as far as his ideas and his, what he's into, whatever, it's just boring. It's absolutely boring. So Scully is so necessary for Mulder's character, and this episode makes it evident, extremely evident for me. So I'm going to go into it a little bit, Pete, and then I want your thoughts on it. It's called Three, and it's famous here because what's her name? Penny. Oof, 1 second, guys. I totally forgot to do something. But David Duchovny's real life girlfriend was in this episode, so you get a few gratuitous tongue kiss scenes just to let everybody know that hey, I'm David Duchovny and I'm fucking this really hot bitch, and she is hot. I'll give her that much. She's got that 90s alternative chick, PJ Harvey type look to her. The girl from Garbage. What was her name? Shirley Manson. She's got kind of like this vibe going for her. So she's definitely hot, but he definitely lets everybody know that this is my girl. It aired originally November 4th, 1994, viewed by 15 million people, and written by Chris Ruppenthal, Glenn Morgan, and James Wong, and directed by David Nutter. And David Duchovny, aka Mulder, is, with Scully missing, Scolder closes in on an unholy trinity or vampire-esque killers and finds himself falling for a mysterious woman who is the prime suspect. It's the vampire episode. I remember really being excited for it when it came out, as far, when the trailers for it came out, because I was into all this vampire stuff when I was about that age in 94. My best friend used to have, like, vampire teeth and drove a hearse, and we're all black and goth, and I was all into that. Like, I had that period. So I was like, cool, we're getting a vampire episode. And even if it wasn't real vampires, even if it dealt with people that believed in vampirism, I remember Art Bell had a few guests like that on his show who claimed to drink blood and believe in this bullshit and that bullshit. But episode for me doesn't go anywhere. X Files are closed, and the it centers around these crimes that are happening where these people are being killed and their blood is being taken out. And within all of that, there's this chick who is supposedly part of this cult, but it ends up that she really isn't, because she's being uh, followed by these vampire dudes who kind of want her to be part of the cult or something like that. Maybe Pete can help with the storyline, because when I don't like an episode, I start kind of getting lost with the storyline. There is a nice little bit of dialogue here, which I like, where the bitch asks, "Don't you want to live forever?" And Mulder says, uh, if, not if drawstring pants come back into style." So still a little bit of Mulder cynicism there. I did like the scene where the vampire dude burns up. I think that's where the show or the episode kind of falters for me, because it starts out very hardcore. Um, like, no, it starts out with where you don't know if we're dealing with real vampires or just these people that believed in vampire cults, which there were a bunch of in the 90s. And then we realize, oh no, this dude really is a vampire of some sort, because the sun is burning him up inside his cell, and he burns up. So I don't know. I don't think this show managed to kind of close that, though, that gap between, is this really a vampire or is this not a vampire? It didn't really make the transition that well. She's kind of a crazy bitch, the girl that he's trying to save. Not really sure why Mulder would go to her house alone. Another thing that I noticed is that vampires can't fight, but I think that's known from vampire media in general. But there's Pete. And the end of the episode is the worst, because they fight this vampire. She escapes, but then, like, she's really far away, and then the house blows up. But then she manages to get back in the house in enough time to, like, drive up. I don't know. Like, there's so much wrong with this episode, especially that explosion at the end. Like, how does a house blow up that much just based on a fire that they started? I don't know, dude. Let me know what you think, Peter. I don't have much good to say about this episode. I gave it 2.5 stars. Peter's internet is really not good tonight. He keeps getting knocked off. Tell me what you guys think of this episode. I think it was kind of a misstep. Mulder does have a little bit of chemistry with the main character, obviously, because that's his girl. But you get a sense that, he was very much, I don't know, like he had better chemistry with Scully, which kind of sucks, if that's like his girlfriend, his real life girlfriend on the air, and he has less of like sparks with her than he does with Scully. She just seems to be more on like lapdog mode, like she's just into him because he's hot, and she's into him because he's hot, but mm, not um, not really cool. There are some cultural references here. Club Teps was named for Vlad Tepes, also known as Vlad the Impaler, who was the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. And Kristen Killer's last name could be an allusion to Wojciech Killer, who composed the score for the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula, along with that. Oh, I'm missing my podcast partner. Some female fans became extremely jealous at the sight of David Duchovny kissing Perry Reeves on screen. They were split about the show, observed Duchovny. All right? And Perry Reeves, who played Kristen Killar, was David Duchovny's real life girlfriend at the time of filming. And that name, come on, Killar. Everything's cheesy about this episode. This is one of the few episodes of the X Files television series in which Gillian Anderson does not appear. The other one being Zero Sum, Travelers, and Unusual Suspects. So that answers that question about other episodes that Scully is not in. And Tom Macbeth, Detective Gwyn, previously played scientist in the X Files episode Space. So we get a little bit of recycling. Not the first time, right? Krychek got recycled, and Terry McQuinn gets recycled a lot. And we'll talk about him this episode of the X Files review. Malcolm Stewart previously played Dr. William Glass in the X Files episode Pilot. So we got a few people that are in. There's Pete. Few people that reprised their roles. And one comment here in the wiki is this was a confusing episode. And somebody said, I completely agree. I could hardly follow anything at all. I can't tell you what the plot was of this bullshit. But let's hear it from Pete, because his internet's going on and off. But I think he's good now. Are you there, Peter? Peter Baird. I don't know if he's there or not. So, guys, in the comments, let us know what you think. What I believe I'm gonna do, so that I'm not just rambling here, is move on to the next episode, and then when Pete comes back and is stable, we'll just go back, okay, and deal with this vampire episode because I really want his opinion on it. I wonder if he dug it or not. But yeah, I'm gonna move ahead, Peter, and then we'll come back. Because the next episode is called One Breath. In this episode, I gave 5 stars to. Okay, this is the Scully is Back episode. And it starts out with a flashback, which is really nice, of Dana, Scully as a young girl, killing a snake, but then crying after it. And this kind of adds to the whole Scully character being tough but emotional too. I mean, she has more than a few episodes where she really can't handle some things, which is fine. She can be emotional about some things, and I love this flashback scene. We find out that Scully's in a hospital, and I tend not to like these episodes where the main character is lying in a hospital. And Scully ends up in a hospital a lot. I know I complained about that in season, I think 10, where she again was in a hospital. But I'm sure there are some other episodes before that and after this one, where we're gonna have more scenes of just Scully lying in a hospital, and it gets overused. I don't really dig it at all. and we're kind of just inside her mind. But that said, it was a nice episode to kind of show her battle, trying not to die. You know, does she want to die? Does she want to let go? She's kind of on a boat tethered to a rope, and she's not sure if she wants to let go or to hang on. What I do like is also is that we get to see more of Scully's family, her sister, which is really nice. Um, is all Reiki and crystals and everything, which I think is cool because again, it's such a um, it's such a what's the word I'm looking for here? The oh god, it's like a bottle, you know, like a time capsule of the time. It was so popular around the 90s, you know, the esoteric stuff and crystals and Reiki, and still is, but it was around not the 90s when all this new age stuff was getting really popular. So it's nice that they got this on the X Files. So Melissa Scully is played by Melinda McGraw. She is really, really cool in this episode. And Margaret Scully, who plays Scully's mom, does a uh, great, you know, downtrodden, beaten up character because she has lost her husband and now she's almost ready to lose her daughter. She doesn't, but you know, later on she gets a little bit more heartbreak. No spoilers yet. So there's also a woman that's out there, which is interesting, and we're not sure who this woman is. And she's by Scully's bedside, kind of praying for her and hoping she does well, but we're not really sure who she is. And I like that. I like Fro Hickey in a tux going to see Dana. I like that Earth 2 gets a shout out. I like that the tethered boat thing was just really nice. It was delicate. It was, but it was touching. Okay, but it was very touching. Now the thing is, okay, Skinner and Mulder have a great time together, and Skinner has one of his best scenes. This is where Skinner really shows his true colors and shows that he's there for Mulder. He he's really there for him. Sorry guys for the pauses. I'm just kind of waiting to see if Pete's gonna be able to come back. I think I'm just gonna have to run through this myself tonight, which sucks because I like Pete on here, but I guess it's just that's the way it is. But I like that Skinner has this conversation with Mulder about his out of body experience that he had, and it just lets the audience know that Skinner's open to some things, right? And that he supports Mulder and he supports Scully, and he doesn't want Mulder to give up because Mulder's just kind of like, I lost my partner. I might have been the reason why she's in this position, and I'm just not feeling very happy um, right there. And we also get some X's in this episode, and he is hardcore. Has one of the best quotes. This is a high capacity, compact, sig saver 40 caliber weapon. Is pointed at your head to stress my insistence that you search for who put your partner on that respirator. Desist immediately because Mulder's out for the truth. Um, because there are some people that are trying to kill Scully while she's in that hospital, and X chases after this guy that Mulder's chasing after. And he tells Mulder, you want to know what it takes to find the truth, to know the things that I know? And then bang, shoots the guy dead. I'll attend to this. This is one of my favorite X episodes. But he's awesome, and I love how he's so different from Deep Throat. There's Pete in that he doesn't give a fucking shit. So there's so much going on in this episode, a lot of mythology. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a little bit because right now we're gonna go on Pete mode because we're gonna go back if he doesn't get knocked off again. I hope not.
Yeah.
To three. I don't know if you got to hear any of my thoughts on three. Basically, I thought the
Not much, no.
basically I thought the episode sucked. The storyline was confusing, and it uh, just proved how important Scully is to the series more than Mulder. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a disappointment. I mean, you knew they were going to have to do vampires at some point because they already did their werewolves, they're doing the supernatural. Got to go with vampires. I was a bit surprised that they went all in with the vampire stuff and didn't make it more ambiguous. Like it's pretty clear like no, these aren't like people who drink blood because they have a vampire fetish. They actually are honest to gosh vampires. And I think it actually could have used a bit more ambiguity than there in such blunt fashion. You know, having the dude burned to death in his jail cell when he gets exposed to the sun. That took a lot of the mystery out of it. But yeah, it
See,
was,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. No, I was just gonna
no,
say I
no,
brought that up too. I brought that up too. I think that that's what was one of the weak points, is that in the beginning it starts okay because there's this ambiguity to it, and then once you find out, no, it's like it is hardcore vampires. They didn't make that transition very well, and then that's where the episode kind of starts to lose me.
yeah, I really had to suspend disbelief to see how Mulder can act because there's not just one, there's like three of them. And the fact that he is not totally in the dude, three real vampires, guy'd be fucked.
Well, that's because vampires can't fight, dude.
I
These
guess, but they're
vampires
super
are.
strong though.
I know, but they're pussies. These vampires are really like they can't do shit. I've never seen.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
they
So
powered them down for Mulder, and that's the thing. It's like
yeah,
it almost felt like Duchovny wrote this episode. Like he just made it the gratuitous. Mulder is hot. Mulder is strong. Mulder has the hot bitch that he tongue kisses in the middle of the episode just to let everybody know she's my real life girlfriend. And it was so gratuitous. David Duchovny just like good for him though. I mean, he's a young hot dude. If you can get that off on a big network show for just one episode, do it. Just be the hero.
yeah,
But it's a
and
pretty forgettable episode.
yeah, and the whole cult thing they had going that didn't really resonate at all. The Holy Trinity trip they had.
Yeah, again, I think this is a case of the X Files getting a good, getting a good idea and just not really knowing where to go with it. Getting something that's urban legend, but yeah, not knowing where or how to relate it to the characters. And I think that's their biggest issue with the writers of the X Files is when they could get something that isn't as strong of an urban legend. I think that's where they fared better because they could create their own mythology around it. But whatever they tried to
Right,
get something that's very famous, like vampires, even the werewolf stuff. I mean, it was okay. Or even Bigfoot, they never did. I think it would have sucked, because there's already too much known about it. So there's not much for them to build their story on top of. When they get
right.
something that's a little lesser known, or they just take a weird element, just like ghost or reincarnation or whatever, telekinesis. It's just very general. Then they build their own story around that. Those are usually the best episodes. So I think this is a case of that. Like Vampire's been done a million times. I don't think there's anything the X Files could have added to it to make it more interesting or alluring. His girlfriend is hot though, or what his former girlfriend. All right, and what do you think of One Breath? Because I talked about this a little bit while you were out, just to fill up space, because I had nothing more to say about three. I really love it. I gave it 5 stars. Scully tried to come back from the dead, or you get knocked out again. Oh my goodness, tonight is just not the night for Peter. Good lord. I see this. Connection is fairly good. If you're on Wi Fi, try plugging into your router or moving closer to it. Oh no, Peter's gone. Good lord, folks. Yeah, it's one of those nights. It's one of those nights. What can you do? My internet has been kind of crappy all day today. It's one of the reasons I don't like to do stuff live, depending on what it is. But we'll wait a little bit for Peter to come back. And I'll tell you, my issue with One Breath has nothing to do with the story, has nothing to do with the acting and everything that's going on in it. There's a lot of layers to this. It's that it's the beginning, it's the seeds, even though really it started with Ascension and Dwayne Barry, of the writers not knowing what to do with this mythology and Scully. Why did you have to put her pregnancy into the show? Nobody knew she was. I mean, yes, we knew she was pregnant, but it wasn't that clear watching the show that she was pregnant. She could have just, had whatever other storyline happen to her. She could have still been abducted. And I don't know. I could have dealt with a Scully clone, which maybe it would even connect to an episode that I just saw. Oh, I don't have it here. I started writing notes on my cell phone, where dude says to her that she doesn't die. About the psychic um, that Mulder and Scully meet, and he can only see people's deaths. Though that's the problem. He can't really see everything, but it's Clyde Bruckman's final response with Peter Boyle, and he tells Scully that she doesn't die. So that could have even connected, right? Imagine if there was a Scully clone or something. But when you bring in this baby thing, the writers just did not know where to go with it. So that's the only thing that upset me while I'm watching this show is that, oh my God, I know where all this baby drama is going to lead, and it's not going to lead anywhere good. So that's the only negative that I have for this episode. But the episode in itself, if this is your first time watch, it's great. One of the best mythology episodes, which, by the way, I forgot to say here, is written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong and directed by Goodwin and viewed by 15.3 million people. So definitely got a strong showing. And Pete was there for a second. So when he comes back, we'll get his thoughts on One Breath. I'm moving ahead to Firewalker. Firewalker. I'm the Firewalker. Although that's the fire starter. Sorry, Prodigy. Firewalker is actually a really nice episode. It's got a few issues. And it's mainly that it's kind of a retread of Ice and a retread also of wait, feedback of the episode where they're out there in the forest, which is one of my favorite episodes, and I completely forgot the name right now. Um, because it's Mulder and Scully going to an outpost where a bunch of workers were okay, and then they either died or went insane. So it's a little bit closer to ice than it is to let's see, the X Files, Green Bug, so season 1, Darkness Falls. That's what it is. Yes. So it has a similar vibe to both of these episodes because of that, because they find out that there's something in a volcano, because there's a machine that's down there, like a robot that's studying the volcano, but then you find out that folks are dying, folks are being killed, and hey, it's because there's like some ancient fungi or something that was released from the volcano, and it when it gets into your system, kind of drives you nuts for a little bit once you're infected, and then it pops out of your throat. Now I'll tell you what, though, this episode gets high marks for being gory and gruesome, in having the this thing popping out of people's throats is fucking awesome. It's like TV version of Alien, and just about as gross. I don't know if the throat buster or the chest buster is more scary. I don't know what I would prefer to have busting out of me. But cool episode, pretty solid. I gave it 4.5 stars. Again, only thing that knocks it down that half a star for me is that it kind of feels like a retread of stuff that they've already done, which is ancient fungi, ancient bacteria, ancient whatever is awakened because man goes digging deep into the Earth's core. So, anyway, Peter, you there? Oh boy, I thought he was back, but I guess he's not. So I may have to just continue on, guys, and hopefully Pete will come back at some point so that we can actually do the show. Or I might just cancel this and do it next week. I don't know. Let's see. Peter?
Yeah, I am back for a while, I guess.
All right, then talk about One Breath. Tell us what you
Yeah,
think of
One
that
Breath.
episode.
That was a great episode. Brought Scully back, of course, but really kind of emphasized just how much that she means to Mulder. Very concerned, almost obsessively about her, because it does look like she's going to kick the bucket. We know she's not, so there isn't that much drama there, but her situation does seem so hopeless. You're kind of curious as to how she's going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that aspect was good, but I think the other stuff going on around it was what made the episode, particularly the confrontation between Mulder and the smoking man, courtesy of Skinner. Skinner gives him his address, and they have a little
Yes.
confrontation, and that was pretty good. That's where we get to see Spender actually just chilling at home. We still don't know his name at this point, but we know he's the main bad guy, and he and Mulder have an awesome scene together. X is just full on badass, kills a guy execution style. That was a pretty good scene, and Skinner gives Mulder a pretty good pep talk in this one as well.
I
So
love it.
the bits where floating in the void between life and death were okay, but it was really all the stuff going on around it. Showed the importance of this character to the show, and to Mulder and Skinner.
Yeah, I agree. It really showed how important Scully was to everybody, and I like that it extended her family. You know, showed her more of her sister and her mom. So I like that we get to see Scully's personal life a little bit. I think that becomes an important part of the series moving forward. But it does add layers to all the characters. Like you said, the cigarette smoking man scene is great. And he's just this bum, you know, like just sitting in his house, but he still has so much power, this guy. And Skinner's pep talk is really important for us to kind of get an idea of which side Skinner is really on. I think it's one of the more important one, and he kind of shows that he's open to stuff. You know, I think he had an out of body experience when he was in the war or something. So a lot of nice stuff in this episode that add to the characters as a whole. So I dug it. I gave it 5 stars. Really, really good. Really nice. Okay, and
It was great for tying up that whole story. That whole
yes, yeah, like I said, the only thing that sucks is the whole Scully baby thing, you know, her real life pregnancy playing a part in the show because the whole William arc is so shitty and that's the only thing that leaves a bad taste in my mouth is that in hindsight, like I know where it's going to lead, which is nowhere. So that part sucks. But if you're new to the show, and I remember watching it first run, yeah, real exciting stuff. And somebody posted in the X Files group today about how sometimes we really didn't know, you know? When it was first run, there was an excitement to it because we didn't know if a show would get picked up for season two. We wouldn't know if a show would get axed halfway through its second season. We didn't know if an actor really wanted to leave a show. It was different times, you know. Nowadays, everything is so much more, uh, you know, it's a little bit more stable in TV land. Unless you go on Twitter and just say a bunch of dumb shit, then your
yeah,
character may just disappear. But at that time, it's for news shows, of course, shows that were already kind of legacy shows, Law and Order or Star Trek or whatever. Yeah, most of those folks sign 5 6 years deals to play their parts. But for a new show like the X Files, that was not only new but just had so much going with it that we had never seen before, we didn't know. It was kind of in the Friday night slot, which wasn't the best slot, so there was a bit of suspense first run. Watching it now, obviously there isn't, but I think they played that very well. We weren't really sure what was going to happen to Scully, and also it was a show that proved that hey, it could kill its main characters like it did with Deep Throat. So it was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. So we weren't really sure. Anyway, what about Firewalker, Pete? I talked about it a little bit. I really liked it, especially for the throat buster, and I kind of
right,
put the throat buster versus the chest buster. The only thing that knocks it down a
right.
few notches for me is it's kind of a retread of Ice and even Darkness Falls as far as, hey, there they go again in the middle of nowhere with a group of scientists who were all friends with each other and then kind of go nuts. And then it ends up because it's some ancient parasite or some bullshit like that. But even though it was a retread, I think they did a decent job with it. I liked it. What do you think of it?
I wasn't crazy about it actually. I sort of was falling in and out of sleep. Really remember a lot about it. But I remember one of the reasons that I was falling asleep wasn't just because I was like super ass tired, but it was really dark. Like I recall that I couldn't really see much in this episode because a lot of it they're either in the woods at night or they're shots inside the mountain, and yeah, it was just really difficult to watch.
I'm looking here on
distracted
the X
from.
Files wiki. Most folks kind of agree with you. They thought that it was kind of a boring, kind of slow episode, and it's a shame because the episode before it was kind of slow too. I didn't mind it. One thing that it does seem to answer is why, like the beginning, some shadow kind of kills something inside the volcano. Doesn't really explain what that shadow was. I don't know if it was the dude Trapcos,
Yeah,
because the temperature would be too high, you know, even though he
right.
kind of goes insane at the end. But I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty solid, for an episode coming off of a big mythology episode. It didn't have all the stars and sparkles that you expect, but it was all right. It was all right. Well, we can move
I
ahead.
think,
Oh,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think
Oh,
for the three episodes that they didn't they this is the weakest. It was basically like you referenced ice, but also
well, you cut out a little bit.
but yeah, of the three
Wait,
episodes that
repeat.
they did like
Re-
this,
Repeat the other one because you cut out when you said it. You said ice, and what was the other
Darkness
one?
Falls,
Yeah,
Darkness Falls.
yeah, they all have a kind of a similar vibe to them. But I think what Pete was saying that it's the weakest of the trilogy of out in the middle of nowhere episodes, and I do tend to agree with him. But I dig it nonetheless. I hope Pete stays on because I want him to talk about Red Museum. Because I think he liked that episode, and I really didn't. I think it's one of my least favorite of this bunch. 1 star. Are you there, Pete? I'm trying to get him in while Pete's in, but he's not in right now, so he'll just have to give his thoughts on Red Museum when his internet comes back. And hopefully it will come back. If not next week, Pete will do some retreading. Anyway,
Yes,
are you there? Talk
yes,
Red
I am
Museum.
amazingly.
Talk Red Museum while you got a voice. By the way, this episode of Red Museum was written by Chris Carter. And I usually do a news section at the beginning of the episode. I didn't do one today, but I'll tell you guys. Nice interview. Chris Carter on Art Bell was around the time the X Files was going to season 6, maybe 7. Millennium had just got canceled, but he was kind of at the height of his powers nonetheless. So check it out. Just go on Google it. Chris Carter Art Bell, and I think you'll really enjoy it. But Red Museum originally aired December 9th, 1994, viewed by 16 million people, written by Chris Carter and directed by Wynn Phelps. The agents investigate a suggested link between a religious cult of vegetarians and the abduction of several teenagers, although they find that the disappearances are actually connected to a deadly man in their own past. Well, the episode
Yeah,
does.
pretty forgettable
Go ahead.
episode. No, I was just gonna say I remember almost nothing about it.
Oh, I thought you liked
Cult
this one. I thought you
and
liked Red Museum.
that the no, there's another
All right,
watching these when I was really tired, but
I got you. Yeah. Well, then I agree with you. I think it's pretty forgettable, and it's got a whole lot of. Um, it's got a whole lot of elements. It's like it could have been three episodes in one. There's a whole peeping tom thing, and then there's this cult of vegetarians that move to the center of cow country. And then there's this whole conspiracy of injecting these cows with something that it's like some type of growth hormone that
Yeah.
they create test subjects for the cows. And then there's this whole Dr. Larson that comes up in the middle of the episode. He's the one that's behind this, but he dies in a plane crash. And then the violent behavior of the town is connected to these growth hormones. But he's and then this guy, they find out who the peeping tom is. He's arrested for the videos that he's got. He's filming these people. So he's I don't know. This episode is all over the place. I'm not sure what the story was, what the main story that they're trying to tell. And Mulder just can't
Exactly.
fight.
Yes, and the villain in this is the weird thing that kind of got me. The villain is the same guy who shot Deep Throat, but why?
Oh, and he's there for like 2 seconds. They bring him back just to kill him in like 2 seconds. That was terrible. It says here in the wiki, who was writing He Is One on the kids and why? And it says Gert Thomas was because he found out that the kids were being inoculated by Dr. Larson with a substance that in his own mind was causing him to be mean. In reality, Larson was experimenting on the kids with alien DNA aided by way of the syndicate. So, yeah. Although it's worth mentioning, one thing that's interesting about this show is that it was supposed to be a crossover show with Picket Fences, which was a popular show at the time, and kind of a kind of offbeat show, and it didn't work. It didn't work out. What did happen is I think someone from Picket Fences ended up um, like one of the characters from this episode ended up on picket fences just to show that it's all in the same universe, but they couldn't get somebody from picket fences to appear on uh, Red Museum. So there's that little bit of trivia, which is nice. But otherwise, originally the episode was slated to be a crossover episode with CBS show Picket Fences. However, the networks nixed the idea before any filming could begin. A facet of the episode that the adherents of the Red Museum believed that the year 2012 will bring about the dawning of the new age is later referenced in the series finale, The Truth, 7 seasons later. So, there's that little bit of thing going on. But not really my favorite episode.
No, I was incorrect. Instantly forgettable.
All right, not a strong bunch here for this
No,
beginning of season two.
like I said, I had trouble getting through this batch.
And then we have this one's a little better for me. Excelsius Day. What do you think of this one? It premiered. Let's see. We got a December episode, so I guess it's going to be a January episode. Let's look here on the wiki page. And December 16th, still, okay, viewed by 14 million people, written by Paul Brown and Stephen Surjik was the director. Mulder and Scully uncover strange occurrences in an old age care home. When one of the nurses is attacked by an unseen force, she claims to be one of the residents, a 17-year-old man. So this episode deals with some ghost rape, okay?
Yes,
Uh, Mulder has a bunch of tapes in his drawer, some porno.
that's
Good
one
man,
of my
Mulder.
favorite scenes, actually. I put
Yes,
them in that drawer with all the other tapes that aren't yours.
yes. And then the two old guys in the beginning are kind of funny. They play off each other well, and it does have some actors that we may know, some old school actors. We got Sab Shimono, Francis Bay, Eric Christmas, and David Fresco. So these are old schooly actors that, you know, ended up in this. Sheila Moore, I'm trying to remember where I know her from, Pete.
Doesn't ring a
Uh, yeah, doesn't ring a bell. But anyway, so give me just a second here, sir. Frances Bay, who plays one of the residents. She was an actress, cute, tiny, and prolific little old lady character actress. Frances Bay worked constantly in both films and TV shows, but she was in Happy Gilmore, Inspector Gadget, Blue Velvet, The Wedding Planner. So her face was very recognizable in this episode because she's been in a whole bunch of stuff, either from Hannah Montana to weird ass David Lynch type stuff, and of course the X Files. She was in Seinfeld. I think that's where I recognize her face most from, as Mabel Choti. She was in a few episodes in 1996 and 98. So I like the old folks in this. Um, oh, she was also in Who's the Boss, Quantum Leap. So yeah, she was all over the place. So definitely a recognizable face. Um, but I kind of, everything happens at once because they're not use an axe or shoot some holes in the door. Oh, okay. So yeah, it ends up that there's some ghost, and the end scene was a little like what, like Mulder gets stuck inside of a bathroom or something with this nurse, and the water starts to come up, and I don't know why it was so difficult
yes.
to open this door. Um, I thought it was another ideas episode. Like they threw out some ideas on the and threw some darts on at the board, but nothing solid. Gave it 3 stars. It's watchable though. It's entertaining enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this one. I thought the ghost story aspect was pretty cool. The original concept that the basically the patients, they're taking this drug that this old Malaysian dude who works at the hospital is giving them, or the nursing home, I should say, and it allows them to see all the people that have died there. And of course, nursing homes, people die all the time. But not only is it able to make them see them, but they kind of channel them into existence and they start causing havoc. So there's kind of a mystery to it at first because we don't know if we know it's something to do with the drug they're taking, but we don't know if it's like one of the patients or if it's something else. And yeah, it turns out it's like the angry spirits of all the people that have died at this care home. And why are they doing this? It kind of taps into some other issues as well, like elder abuse. Some of the staff are not really that sensitive. They don't have bedside manner. So maybe that's why some of these spirits are pissed. It taps into Alzheimer's, the feeling that these people have after having pretty much lost their marbles and now having all their facilities back. They're like, this is a fair trade off to not have to go back to that, which at the end they do. And it's kind of sad, seeing them visit their families. And we've seen these people as vibrant, witty characters. And then here they are basically back to being potatoes again.
Yeah, no, I like that. I don't. I mean, it's nice that you explained it like that. I think the episode did as good of a job at playing out those themes, but they're
Yeah.
definitely in there. It's definitely in there, but I don't think it was that solid of an episode as far as letting us know that that's what they're trying to get across. But it's okay. Nothing too exciting in these first 12 episodes really. I mean, I liked the beginning of season 2. as far as like the production value. It pops at you a little bit more than season one, but
Right.
I think it only starts warming up second half of the season. I think that's when we get a string of some really nice episodes. But anyway, last one for tonight. I'll let Pete go in
Alrighty.
case he loses internet access. And it's all breed,
Yes.
which I really dig. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is this is like the second time that I've found an episode reminds me of John Sayles, the director, particularly actually, which is probably the movie that he's most famous for because it deals with like an old murder mystery, questionable parentage, and it's basically it has elements of Lone Star with the supernatural. So Aubrey actually refers to the name of the town, and we're introduced to a sheriff who's got a serial killer on his hands, and the serial killer is using the MO of a killer from decades earlier. And one of his alleged victims is a FBI agent who was killed while investigating the case. And as it happens,
Oh,
I am
Millennium
pretty
Falls.
sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in Millennium. And I'm pretty sure he played a completely different character in the X Files movie. I think he was the guy who tried to defuse the bomb.
Oh, dude, Terry O'Quinn. I was gonna mention Terry O'Quinn. He's X Files star. He's in a bunch of episodes. He's in a lot in season 9 too, and
Okay.
he's most famous probably for Lost. He's one of the best characters in Lost, which is John Locke. Is that his name? I think John Locke. Locke is his name. Man,
Okay.
I love him. I love him. But this is way before Lost. But he steals
Yes.
he steals the scenes in Lost. Really great character. So yeah, I put my boy from Lost first appearance. Okay, is in this episode, but he's in a bunch of X Files episodes. He plays a different character every time. But really great
Yeah.
actor, Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah. So he's having one of his fellow officers, and she gets a vision that leads her to dig up the. I don't think it's the FBI agent. That she digs up a victim who's been missing for a long time, which brings Mulder and Scully into it. They know there's more to it because the killings have started up again, and the guy is actually free, but he's out on parole for a rape charge, but he's obviously too infirm to be committing these murders himself. So it's kind of a mystery as to who's doing it. There's a supernatural twist. I can't say when the big reveal comes, it's a huge shock, but from just a storytelling point of view, it's a nice swerve to make the killer who they did. Um, you could kind of see it coming. It was different. It was not like the most predictable thing they could have done.
Yeah, no, it caught me a little bit by surprise, and I thought it was awesome. The actor that just the acting in that whole scene, it's nice. It was one of the more menacing X Files villains. You were really like it was just intense. It was just an intense scene, and more of the X Files just getting away with murder on broadcast TV because it was really violent, really scary, really you know, when X Files goes serial killer, very rarely do they miss the mark. Like they would go dark on some of this shit, and it's like I don't know how they would get away with a lot of it, but they did, and it's kind of bloody, kind of gory, and a lot of
Oh
graphic
yeah,
images. So which you can see there on the
Yeah,
on
carving
the
sister into the
yeah,
chest,
carving sister. Yeah, because the
serial
killer would always say,
rapist.
"Sister, hey sister," you know. So pretty good episode though. I gave it 4 stars. Cheney, little sister, creepy, very creepy. The whole little sister thing, and then when you do meet the guy, even he was creepy, even though you know he wasn't the killer because he
Yeah,
was
even as an
in a
old man,
wheelchair.
he was pretty disgusting. Yeah,
Yeah, but even still, he was creepy. You're like, maybe he does have some, some supernatural power or something. It's a fucking X Files, and he
yeah,
walks
they
out
do
of that
tease that
fucking wheelchair.
possibility.
Yeah, so I like episodes like this that deal with some kind of true crime, but via the X Files, so via like the very darkest corners possible. Because I like crime shows, but crime shows wouldn't do that in the '90s. Law and Order wasn't having this,
Yeah,
NYPD Blue wasn't having stuff like this going on. Um, so I dig it. At least we get to close out this episode of our X Files review with a decent episode. But yeah, pretty weak, man. Uh, Little batch here. The
yes,
episodes we looked at. Let's just give a quick watch or miss, or skip, I should say. For me, 3 is a definite skip. Like, nothing about this episode is interesting. You feel the same about 3 with the
yes,
vampires? One
yes,
Breath is a definite watch because it's a core piece of the mythology arc and it's really well made.
yes, exactly.
Firewalker, it's a retread episode. Uh, I say try it. Not a strong watch, but I dug it. But I see that a lot of other folks thought it was boring, including Pete. What do you feel? What do you think? Skip or watch?
Yeah, pass.
Okay. And Red Museum is a definite pass for me. I gave it 1 star. That's my first
Yes,
1 star
and
episode, I think.
interestingly, this is actually considered a mythology episode, but I think that
It
is only
is.
because it's got Deep Throat's killer in it.
Well, there's a whole thing where apparently the hormones that were being put in the cows was some sort of alien DNA, and they were trying to
Okay,
test it on humans. So it's the beginnings of what eventually becomes part of the greater mythology of how it is that they want to protect humans from this alien invasion, which they get into in the movies. Apparently, it's to the bees that they're going to spread this
right.
vaccine or something. So I guess it's just the beginnings of Chris Carter trying to work out what the fuck he wants to do with this mythology, but a definite pass for me. I really don't like it.
Yeah.
Excelsius Day, it's a watch. It's a cute one. It's not great. It could be both for me, watch or pass, but I'll give it a watch just so I'm not passing on too many.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me. In a stronger batch of episodes, this would probably be a pass, but it's got some good themes. It's got an original take on ghost stories, and of course, it definitely is part of the older porn addiction mythology. So there you go. It's
Yes, the
important in
porn
that
addiction
respect.
mythology. You gotta
Yes.
keep those annotated. And
Yeah.
then a definite watch for me is the episode 12, Arbery. I think it's well written. It's not great. It doesn't have it you can tell when an X-File episode is just all cylinders are just spinning at, like, you just feel it. It's like, okay, they everything there's nothing they could do wrong in this episode. It's not there, it's not on that level, but then you have these really solid episodes, and this is just a solid episode. It's doesn't feel like a filler, even though technically it kind of is. So I give it a watch. You do get some Terry O'Quinn, who's great in almost everything that he does, and it's creepy as fuck in its second half. So definite watch for me.
Give this one a
Oh,
watch. I give this one a watch just for the horror.
Yeah, for the horror, like for me, the second half, like it starts out kind of slow, but then once it shows its hand, it's like, ooh, that was nice. I wasn't expecting all that. So, all right, guys, sorry for all the
Exactly.
tech difficulties, but that shit happens. I know I've had it happen on my end. Pete has it happen on his end. It's just living in a developing nation issues. What can you do? We'll be back next Thursday, although I'll try to post these around the different groups on Thursday. And if you want to watch it, thank you for the subscribers. 200 of you motherfuckers have subscribed to this channel for one reason or another. That's nice. So hopefully we can keep growing in audience. And next week we'll be dealing with some more freaky, some voodoo and some aging, rapid aging, and some mythology and some homages to Psycho. So, and Frank Spotnitz finally joins the writing crew, which I think is one of the best things that happens in the mythology arc. So,
Yeah, we got a Duchovny written episode in there as well.
oh yeah, Duchovny wrote some nice ones. Okay, y'all, I'm done. Gotta get up tomorrow at 6:30. So I'm done.
Oh,
Wait up.
alrighty.
Let me turn this off here.